Hey everyone, we're here at Blizzcon, and Alessandro just got to check out Overwatch 2 and played a little PvE, I believe it was?
Yes.
Yeah, how was it?
Yeah, it's very much basically in line with some of the limited time events that they had, over the past couple of years.
Right.
Like,
okay.
These limited time events added these sort of co-op oriented like missions where you actually fight against sort of enemies, like sort of like raging robots or mercenaries, and it was very much like that, but a lot more polished.
Okay.
Like it felt very much like a sort of a campaign mission in like Destiny or something.
Oh, okay, cool.
Which from what they described like during the presentation, that seems to be sort of like where they're taking this game. Like it's more like open, more like sort of like a developed like game with like single player content, but also sort of, the familiar in depth like PvP content that people know and love.
Cool. They mentioned during the opening ceremony that something that Overwatch players want to see more of is story. Like, the story really resonates with people in this game, and it sounds like that's what they're trying to bring to this. Did that feel like you were working through any kind of like narrative stuff as you were wailing on robots?
Oh yeah, like actually it felt very similar to Left 4 Dead. That sort of style of storytelling where the characters are constantly talking to each other while these events are happening to them, and you see a little bit of that during the PvP, engagements in the original, Overwatch, but this one felt a lot more developed. Like, they're actually having these, sort of in-depth conversations with one another while they're fighting all these robots, and, they're talking about themselves, their past, and everything, and, of course, that was just a very, quick level we got to play through, but from what we understand, the main campaign will focus on sort of the core cast of Overwatch characters, the so-called good guys, I guess. So, it's I really appreciate the sort of the world of Overwatch, and this game is very much sort of about sort of expanding that.
It also sounded like there is going to be some kind of character building elements too. Did you get to check out any of that?
Yeah, we did. So before the match started, we actually got to sort of pick different perks, I guess you can say. I picked Reinhardt, and one skill he had was called Frenzy. So it was either Frenzy or this other ability that affected his sort of more ranged attack, which could sort of create lightning damage for any surrounding enemies. But for Frenzy, what happens is if you keep attacking, your attack speed will go higher. So you'll basically keep swinging your mace at a really rapid pace. So of course, when you're playing Overwatch over several years, any changes to your character is immediately noticeable. And I actually got to interview the developers today, and I asked if those changes will sort of carry over into the multiplayer, which is the multiplayer is for players with Overwatch 1 and 2, they'll be able to share the game, they'll be able to play against each other. So those sort of perks will only be available within the PvE mode. So,
but it sounds like you get to kind of tune the characters a little more in the direction of a certain play style?
Absolutely, yeah. I was really impressed with the nuances you can add. There's also sort of these chests you can find during the mission where you can pick up a turret or a special grenade or sort of different sort of modifiers for your character, and and that will also help sort of change the character for that particular mission, but also the type of play style you choose.
So did you get to see any new characters? How many were available to you in the new mode?
So we just got to pick from the more familiar characters like Reinhardt, Tracer, and of course Mei. But the new character Sojourn, which they just announced at BlizzCon, was not playable in any way. So we don't know what that character is going to be all about. But the new changes they sort of added to these characters, the characters that we know and love, just makes them feel. It feels a bit different. I mean, of course, it's a different setting too. PvP is something that a lot of Overwatch players are very familiar with.